Good evening, everyone. Hello. You're wondering why there's a guy up here. Who is this? So how are you? Why is the guy up here? So I am going to literally be here for 2 minutes, then I'm going to exit stage right. So welcome so much to the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. My name is Steve Merker. I'm one of the co-founders of the Ride to Conquer Cancer. I almost said our old sponsor name. I'm curious to know how many people have already done the ride. Okay, so I'm going to call that 38%. Okay, how many people are signed up and about to do their first ride? Okay, that's about 20%. Congratulations. How many people have yet to sign up, are thinking about it, you're on the fence? There's a couple. Okay, awesome. Well, we don't let them leave, right? Until they sign up. Just kidding, no pressure. So as one of the co-founders of the ride, I'm thrilled to have you come here to our foundation office. With COVID, we haven't actually been able to use this space properly. So it's wonderful to have you here. And we know how important it is for people to feel comfortable on our ride, because it's not a race, it's a ride. It's nothing about speed. We hope you are speedy with your fundraising. But in terms of riding and getting to Niagara Falls and Hamilton and wherever you're riding on our ride, it's all about being safe, having fun, and being social. And I was just talking to one of a rider back there, and I was explaining how the cycling world, it's, if you go into a bike shop for the first time and you're like inquiring about, hey Tan, hey, Linda, wow. You go into a bike shop for the first time, and there's like a 27-year-old guy who's an ex-bike racer, and you come in and you say, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this bike ride, and what kind of bike do I need? And they're like, they look down at you like you don't know a thing. They make you feel this big. You have these questions, and they're not meeting your needs, and then you probably walk out of there very frustrated and like, why am I even getting involved in this sport? So we wanted to create this event tonight to make you feel comfortable in asking those questions that you would never ask in a bike shop. You might not even ask at an info session at one of our ride orientation sessions. So that's why I'm exiting stage right, because we want to make you feel as comfortable as possible. I wanted to acknowledge some very special people in the group. First of all, our 3 honorary chairs of the Ride to Conquer Cancer this year. We have Jen Lee Koss down here. We have Janet Bannister and Natasha Walji. Natasha, raise your hand in the blue jacket. So Janet is a former high-level triathlete. I don't know if you're still competing, but I follow her on Strava. By the way, if you don't know what that means, no big deal. Janet is the Energizer Bunny Rabbit times 5. Jen is a casual cyclist, okay, a cyclist, active. Natasha hasn't been on a bike in a long time. She's nervous about doing the ride, and that's okay, because I'm sure there's many other people in the room just like that. So we're honored to have the 3 of them leading our ride this year. So thank you so much, Jen and Janet and Natasha. In a second, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Noor Issa here, who is the manager of the ride and helped put this event together. We have some of my great colleagues are in the group. I also wanted to recognize the skis and bike crew for coming tonight, and I think they've got some cycling-specific items that you might want to ask about. If you haven't been over to see the skis and bikes crew, make sure you head on over there. I have to acknowledge my wonderful colleague Sherry in the back there. So Sherry Freeman has done the ride. How many years? 11 years. So if you have any questions, talk to Sherry. And by the way, quick fun story about Sherry. The very first year she did the ride, she got this brand new bike, and she was riding with a pack of people, and she couldn't figure out why when she was going downhill, she couldn't keep up. She couldn't keep up, and she's pedaling like crazy, and people were taking off. And then at the end of the ride, somebody told her that she actually has a big chain ring, that there's a chain ring you can go up so you can actually pedal and keep up with all those people who are blowing by you.
The guy who sold me the bike was so cute, I wasn't concentrating. So I had a very positive experience in the bike store.
Yeah, so see, Now, if we had an event like this before, you could have asked a question like, how do I change my gears properly, right? So don't be afraid to ask any questions on the table tonight. We have Dr. Rama Khokha. I don't know if she's here. Oh, there she is over there. So she's going to be speaking. She's a senior scientist here at the Princess Margaret. So Rama, thank you for joining us tonight. And now I'm going to exit stage left or stage right. I'm going to hand it over to Noor to run the show. I will be staying around, so if you do want to come bug me afterwards and say, Steve, I don't agree with this or whatever, you can come and chirp at me. Don't chirp at Noor. You can chirp at me all you want. So thanks again for coming. So great to see so many people. And I look forward to seeing you all on the road in June. Noor, over to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm Noor. I'm known for being extremely quiet, so if you cannot hear me, please just do this and I'll speak up. For all the people in the back, we don't bite. You can sit over here. We do spit though, so enter at your own risk. Thank you all so much for coming. I would like to kick us off by having our honorary chairs speak about why they ride. This is the first time that we've had an all-female honorary chairs team who have set up this event for us, and we are so honored to have them join us. So if I could invite you over, and then you can let us know about why you ride. We just need this for a recording.
Okay, do you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, it is so great to be here. Thank you so much for coming. Just wonderful to see everybody's smiling face out there. So a couple of things. First of all, absolutely honored to be in this role. I was thrilled when Steve called me and invited me to be an honorary chair. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is getting more women and more people from diverse industries to be involved in the ride. So, that was part of the impetus for having this event tonight. I will also say that, from a fundraising standpoint, what I think about is hey, I am doing this ride and raising money for the next generation, for our children, for my nieces, my nephews, for other people who will be diagnosed with cancer in the future. And I am riding for those people so that hopefully there will be better treatment for them. And then the final thing I would say is I would encourage everybody to do the ride. This spirit, I've never actually done this ride before, but I've done all sorts of other fun events and fun riding events. And I will just say that the spirit, the energy, the camaraderie is incredible. It is not a race. You're going to be out there with other people who will be cheering for you. And the feeling that you will get at the end, and actually during the whole thing, will be incredible. And now I'll pass it off to my great friend, Natasha.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet. And I'm just so honored as well to be here with both Jen and Janet. So on a very cold winter morning in December, Janet called me and said, hey, can you do this with me? And Janet is amazing. She is a force of nature, as all of you know. It's very hard to say no to Janet, but she told me about the cause and all the incredible research that the Princess Margaret Hospital has done, and said something a little bit about cycling, which we will talk about another time. Janet did not tell me she was a triathlete, but that's a story for another day. And so here I am as your co-chair, but I am very excited to be here. I have not cycled, as you heard. I don't own a road bike, but I'm doing it for 3 reasons. One is I am super inspired by the work that Princess Margaret Cancer Research Center has done. I'm a huge believer in the power of science and technology to change the world, and they are changing the world. And the funds that we raise is going to get us closer to finding a cure, and hopefully in our lifetime for future generations. I'm also doing it for all the cancer warriors that I know. So I think about all the survivors that are doing this ride, all the people that have survived cancers, are battling through cancer, and people that I've lost in my family. I'm doing it for them. And I'm also doing it to show up. So I don't really sign up for a lot of things that I have no idea what to do. So I feel very vulnerable doing this, but I'm hoping that by doing this, some of you will consider doing this ride. I know the 4 of you in the back, we should chat later. Those very brave to raise your hand. I am with you, but I've already signed up, as you can see. But I really hope that that will encourage other people to sign up and just kind of throw your hat in the ring. The ride is really accessible, and so there are 4 options. The Hammer, which you get a vest in, which I was very tempted until I heard it was 260 kilometers. But Jen and Janet promised me I could wear the vest sometime. Remember that? Okay,
Yes, yes.
they're not nodding, but that's what I told myself. So I'm not doing that one, but there's also other rides. There's the Classic, which is 200, the Classic Express, which is 100, and then you can choose any ride you want as well. So I think the message is we want to keep the ride accessible for everyone, and if you have any interest, if any of this resonates with you, please sign up and invite your friends, because I think this is going to be probably the best year yet, and you'll be with at least 4,000 other cyclists who are deeply passionate about this cause, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks for having me. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you. I'm Jen. So honored to be here. And well, for those of you on the fence, hi, Nora. I haven't seen you in a while. Get off the fence. You got to come and join us. I am sort of everything you said, because when Janet asked me to do this, you can't say no to Janet, because she just is able to get everyone going, and I felt so compelled. But I also ride for family members I have lost, family members who are surviving, roommates from college, parents of roommates from college. Like, I don't think anyone we know has not been touched by cancer, and I think that we all have a chance right now to do something that is fun, that builds community, that allows us to feel accomplished and to have a high, lofty goal. If you don't know, over the past, this is the Sweet 16 year, by the way, the 16th year, they have raised $250 million for research. Princess Margaret is a top 5 research institution in the world, right here in our backyard. And I have a personal story, because I have a very good friend who lived a little bit on the outskirts of Toronto, in a bit of a remote area, was diagnosed at a local hospital with cancer, was told she has no chance. And I was like, we need a second opinion. And so I went to somebody who I knew at Princess Margaret and asked him if he could please help. And he did. And she got a longer lease on life. And she got into a special trial. She really, honestly, she would come in and she would stay with us in the city, go back out. I just felt like, again, this is in our backyard. They're doing incredible work. They're giving people a chance, and finding, hopefully, a cure for something that's going to, impact people that we know. So I'm just very honored to be here and so excited and cannot wait. I have heard, by the way, that on the last day when we were in Niagara, like, the mist starts to fall on your face and you get really emotional, and I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that moment. So I hope to celebrate that with all of you. Thank you.
Okay. One other thing. So you may hear about teams. And so anybody who is here, you feel free to form a team. It can be your neighborhood. It can be with a bunch of around your your kid's school. It can be around your company. Anything. A team has a minimum of 2 people, so you can find a friend and form a team. Or Jen and I have started the Dream Team, called Dream Team, one word. Anybody here, and frankly any of your friends who want to join our team, we would love to have you on our team. Yes. And you can join, you just go online. I'm sure we're going to be talking about the details, but basically just go online, Dream Team, one word. You'll see our smiling faces and our names, and you just sign up and you're going to be part of our team, and we're going to have a great time together. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Yes. And I love the blue representation both on and off the screen. Thank you. A couple of housekeeping items. If you're wondering why this microphone is so clunky, it's not because I'm that quiet. It's because we are recording this. So if you do miss anything, or you have any friends or family that are really interested, you can say hi to the camera back there, and we'll send this out after. If you do need to use the washroom or take a call or anything, you're welcome to ask my colleague Candace, who's standing in the back, and she'll direct you to any of the facilities. We hope that you are able to stay with us for the entire duration. For now, I would like to introduce Dr. Rama Khokha, who prefers to go by Rama. I checked, so I'm not being disrespectful. Rama is a senior scientist at Princess Margaret who has been with us for 27 years. She's also a professor in the Department of Medical Biophysics at the University of Toronto, and this part was really cool to me when I was creeping you on the internet. Her work was recognized by the prestigious 2014 Nobel Prize from the Canadian Cancer Center Society Research Institute, which is quite impressive. So please help me welcome Dr. Rama Khokha.
Supposed to hold this?
If that's
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. Okay, I like the other picture, actually. That's all right. Well, because those are really my good, close colleagues. We've done lots of work together with them. So I want to thank Steve Merker and the foundation for the opportunity to talk to you today. My name is Rama Khokha, and I am a cancer biologist, and I have been working with my team at Princess Margaret since, I thought over 20 years, but 27 years to be precise. So what really, we are really passionate about understanding the adult breast tissue, right? So, and we also are very interested in understanding the early disease. So this work has then naturally taken us to starting to think about prevention strategies, like the molecular-based prevention strategies. So if you think about the targeted cancer prevention, right, beyond the healthy lifestyle choices that we make, this is a really important, what you can say, it's the next generation idea. It's the biggest biomedical challenge and question, and a compelling question, how to achieve prevention, in a targeted manner. So this question has been recognized by the World Health Organization, and also by the governments and foundations and cancer consortiums in general. For example, even Canadian Cancer, even the Canadian Parliament actually held an event that they called Cancer Gone, which was all focused around developing ideas around prevention. So I think prevention, of course, offers the capacity for, it's the long-term best strategy, and it can also help reduce the economic and the emotional strain that is associated, that's placed by cancer on individuals, on families, and on communities. So as you can now imagine and anticipate, cancer prevention is a really challenging area. There have been big strides made in improving genetic testing. So, that people are much more, we are well positioned to identify cancers earlier, and we are also well positioned to identify patients who are at risk of developing cancer, right? But what is also important is that we know you may have heard of the Angelina Jolie effect. With the early genetic testing and preventive mastectomies, her undergoing these very drastic surgeries really made the preventive mastectomies more common, considered option. But what we really we want to go and develop non-invasive, targeted prevention strategies, that can offer more new options to the patients who are developing breast cancer in their lifetime. So early on, discoveries from my team actually helped inform and guided the design of certain prevention trials, especially two are currently ongoing on patients that have BRCA1 mutations. So with this experience under my belt, a few years ago, we really pivoted our research to make prevention more of a focus in our research program. So I started working with Thomas Kisslinger, who's in the middle, and Dr. Hal Berman. Thomas Kisslinger is a clinical proteomics expert, and Hal Berman is a breast cancer clinical pathologist. And we started building this tissue bank, the breast tissue bank, that collects the earliest disease samples very systematically. And this has really opened fantastic opportunities for systematic and deep molecular analysis of this tissue. And we have really gleaned collectively important fundamental insights into the factors that contribute to increasing risk of developing breast cancer. So really this work has focused on identifying characterization of cancer precursor cells, the cells that eventually become cancer. Are not yet cancerous, but they are cancer precursors. So over the years, it's been a pleasure to work with these guys, but our team has expanded considerably. We now have a number of early career investigators who are also part of our team, and some of these investigators have recently been recruited to the Princess Margaret Cancer Center. So, each of them really bring their own sophisticated and advanced technologies to our group, really increasing the horizon and the kind of work that we can do collectively. So with their efforts, we're really well positioned to take on groundbreaking work and continue with this work. We are focused on identifying cancer precursor cell vulnerabilities. We are developing new paths for rationalized prevention. We are also testing drugs that are tried and are known to be safe and effective, and we want to see whether they can be positioned in this prevention space. We also work with our clinician colleagues to begin to identify the exceedingly small amount of cancer factors, that are shed into the blood. So collectively, I think we are really well poised as a group. I want to give you a few more examples of what we are doing collectively. So my group is really now very well positioned to do a deep molecular dive into understanding the nature of high-risk breast tissues, because there are many different categories of high risks, and we want to understand them broadly. Then, with the help of Federico Gaeti, who's a new recruit, he can actually and we do this analysis at a single cell level. Now, Fede can actually apply more sophisticated multi-omics technologies to these single cells and project what is the exact path a precursor cancer cell is going to take to become cancerous cell. Then with Shane Harding, he looks at the DNA damage repair, DNA fidelity, as the tissue grows, and he's beginning to understand how the DNA damage repair is then coupled to the influx of immune cells that come into the high-risk tissues. And then with our other colleagues who are not within Toronto, but let's say at the University of British Columbia, Chris Maxwell, he's focused on understanding precisely how the precursor cell division initial growth differs from a normal population. Now, the idea to really go deeply into all of these things is that they're actually targeted agents that you can apply to block each of these stages, these steps. So I think collectively I feel very positive, and I think we are really ready to take on the challenging research in the cancer prevention space. I just want to check my cheat sheet here. So, I think I feel very confident that with the effort of this group, we'll come up with this, not one agent, but with a suite of agents that will be non-toxic and more applicable and more poised for long-term application. Now, alongside the scientific discoveries, we are also setting out to develop an infrastructure within the hospital to enable the breakthroughs and also enable clinical trials, because those are the things that are actually going to help the patient care. So in this vein, then we actually spearheaded an initiative where we helped Princess Margaret become one of the members of the large cancer prevention consortiums that were started in Chicago. So this is called the NCPC, the Northwestern Cancer Prevention Consortium, and Princess Margaret is the first Canadian member of this consortium, along with 15 other large cancer centers that are sort of, spread across U.S. So, and we accomplished this with the help of, again, Hal Berman and also Stephanie Leroux, who's an ovarian oncologist within the Princess Margaret Hospital. Also, as part of this infrastructure development, we are also establishing an in-house centralized and comprehensive master database. This one is designed to track and tabulate the patients that have been seen through the Princess Margaret Cancer Center over the years. For example, just in the high-risk breast clinic alone, we've had like 3,500 to 4,000 patients who have gone through these clinics. And by generating this master database, I think we believe that we can learn from their journey, we can learn from their treatment path, we can also better access the archived tissue that already exists in the hospital and specimens and purpose that tissue for prevention studies, right? Because this would help us not only grow our bank that slowly grows, but also accrue all of this very valuable tissue that's actually available within the hospital. So our mission is really to unite researchers who are engaged in the cancer prevention concepts locally, nationally, and internationally. The ideas that we have are, of course, right now centered on breast, but they actually apply to a number of other cancers. The prostate, the other solid cancers, they also apply to blood cancers. And since cancer initially grows slowly, we think there's a real window of opportunity to act early and think of interception and molecular prevention as really viable, important ideas applicable, because that would also help, ameliorate the adverse effects of having a full-blown cancer. So overall, our work is well supported by funding agencies, nationally and internationally, but it really is only with the support of our foundation. I think that helps elevate our scientific discoveries. So I want to thank the foundation, but I actually want to thank you all, our riders, for your passion, for being our partners, and in helping raise these funds that will go towards cancer treatment, but I also hope will go towards cancer prevention. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to share the research with us. Honestly, it was so inspiring because I personally only recently learned what a radical mastectomy is. Does anyone here know what that is? Yeah. Long time ago, that was a very normal thing. A radical mastectomy was something that an operation that they would do to women where they are unable to remove the specific tissue that is cancerous, and so they would remove the entire breast muscle, which would make your shoulder droop essentially, and you would not have the muscles to be able to support you. And that used to be common practice. With time and with important research like this, we can continue to evolve with time, and so I really, really appreciate all of that. Thank you so much. And in order to facilitate such important research, we need to do events like this that is able to fuel more dollars into such critical work. And how can you do that? I'm about to let you know. You can ride your bike from Toronto to Hamilton, and we have, as Natasha mentioned, multiple different routes. I can go back and let you know. Now that we're done with some of the overarching details, we would love to get into the more specifics that you may actually be here for. So I'll walk you through some event details, and then we'll talk about some gear selection. We'll get down to some nitty-gritties, and then we'll talk about training, nutrition, and then how you can be successful in your fundraising efforts. Some of the routes that we have are very flexible, and even if you are a returning rider or are a captain, you can always change the routes that you have and offer this information to any potential team members that may be interested. So if you are still on the fence, the first one may be for you, so pay attention. That is the one-day ride where you can raise only $2,000 and ride from Toronto to Hamilton. And then once you get to Hamilton, you will have all the fun with everyone else. And then you will have a shuttle that will take you back to Toronto, and you will be able to leave your bike with a professional mover who will also move your bike for you from Hamilton back to Toronto. New this year, which also may be really good for people on the fence, I'm looking at that side over there, is the Classic Express. You were brave for raising your hand. I saw a hand here too. I didn't forget there was a hand here. The Classic Express, you get all the glory and half the work. So you will still be able to raise the $2,500 minimum, which is the most popular option that we have, and you will ride from the exhibition place in Toronto. You get to hear Steve say, "Ready, set, ride," with that amazing electric feeling, and then you will ride your bike to the lunch stop on day one. And you have all the lunch that you'd like. You leave your bike with us and we shuttle you to Hamilton. You have all the beers that you like. And then on day two, you will wake up and meet your bike at the day two lunch stop, and then ride it the last 50 kilometers through the finish line and get to experience that electric feeling. And as Jen mentioned, feel the mist on your face and cut out all that extra work in the middle. So consider that. We also have other options available. So the most popular option by far is the classic route, which is mostly what we will be talking about today. That is where you ride from Toronto to Hamilton, wake up on day two, and ride from Hamilton to Niagara Falls. That is about 100 kilometers per day, emphasis on the about. And then we have the hammer route, which is what Janet will be doing. She will be leading the fleet, and Jen. You get a snazzy vest with that in addition to the jerseys that we have at the back. The fundraising minimum for that one is $4,000. There is also extra hill challenges, and there are also extra kilometers involved with that. So if you're looking for a challenge, that's the one for you. And if you're really, really, really on the fence, you can do the Ride Your Way, which has no fundraising minimum. You can ride wherever you want, whenever you want. However, if you do want to get one of our really cool looking jerseys, then you will have to fundraise $1,500 in order to qualify for that. So if you do have any more questions about the specific routes, I would be happy to share that with you. But for now, off to my favorite part, which is a weekend overview. Yes, look at you. You look very different with your goggles and your helmet. Let us walk through together what it would be like to do the ride. So I'll be walking you through the most popular option, which is the classic, but keep in mind that there might be some parts that are a little bit different. So you will start off on a bright early Saturday morning at the exhibition place with thousands of other riders. You will be met with a hot breakfast, coffee. You'll be met by my colleagues who will be there to help you. And you will be able to drop off your gear and have that meet you in Hamilton. If you dropped off your bike with us the night before, you'll be able to pick it up. It is an absolutely electric feeling to hear from some of our speakers, survivors, people who are very researchers who are able to support, and of course, our lovely CEO, Miyo, who will be inspiring us to push on for over 100 kilometers that day. Then you will hear Steve say, "Ready, set, ride," and off you go. You will be able to see the route on the next slide. You can see that we have pit stops every 25 kilometers or so, so you're not really sprinting straight through all the way to Hamilton. We have a lovely lunch stop for you where you can take as long or as little time as you need. All of the pit stops are equipped with showers, washrooms, camp, you'll have showers at camp. And you will be able to rest up. We have medics all along the way should you need any support. We also have gear techs should you have an issue with your bike, should you need a lift. And if you have an emergency or you're really just feeling not great, you are able to ask for a ride to the next pit stop, where you can then reassess whether you want to keep going or not. Keep all of those little details in mind. They're definitely a last resort items, but I did want to let you know should you want to use them. Then when you get to McMaster University, I know I said this is my favorite part, but this is actually my favorite part because I worked there for 7 years. It has a special place in my heart. Camp at McMaster University is an absolutely electric time. There you will be able to recharge, meet up with your team members, meet up with new friends. You will be met with a catered buffet with lots of food, lots of beverage, the showers. They will be there this time. And you will also have the opportunity to stay in the dorm rooms, go off into your hotel, or use a tent if you're really brave. You will be able to see our infamous camp show hosted by Steve and other RIDE colleagues. You will be able to hear from researchers, survivors. You will laugh, you will cry. It will be a great time. It is absolutely a roller coaster of emotion. I have some images on the next slide that you can see some of the happy times that you can experience, lots of different entertainment, and we would love to hang out with you at camp. Then it's lights out, usually by 9, unless you're a real party animal. And then you are up bright and early on day 2, where you will have your coffee, you'll have your breakfast, and then off we go to Niagara Falls. Again, you can see that it's very similar to day 1, where there is a pit stop every 25 kilometers or so. There's a lunch stop, the exact same experience that I mentioned. You will be supported. You will have all the help that you need. You'll have a little wristband with you as well. Should you need to call anyone or need any help, we are here for you. Then you can make it to Niagara Falls. On a bright sunny day, you will be able to feel the mist on your face as you cross that finish line. And a really fun stat is that we've been doing the ride for 15 years, coming up on the 16th, and we have only had 2 rain dates. So we really try to arrange with Mother Nature for you, and we have been working on that. At the finish line, there are limited showers, there are washrooms. You will be able to hang out with your team members, really celebrate the triumph that you have accomplished. Whether you did the entire route or you did part of it, we are all in this together. You will have an opportunity to register for the ride there, and on the next slide, you'll also see some more images of that. And now, oh, I guess I didn't put that picture in, never mind. If you have any more specific questions about the experience of the weekend, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'll have my contact information at the end. I just wanted to give you a really quick overview, but I could talk about this alone for the entire hour. But I will pass it off to our trainer, Paulina, who will talk a little bit more about the specifics of what you will need and how you can best prepare. So please help me welcome Paulina. Thank you. We do need this just for the recording, if that's okay.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Angie. Have you done this before? No? Okay, good. I don't know if this was asked earlier, but how many people have actually done the ride before? Oh, okay, so this is good. So quite a few who this is new for. All right, so we've got quite a few subjects that we're going to talk about today. We're going to do bikes, accessories, equipment, your clothing, training, and then we're going to do a little bit on nutrition, which I'm going to try to keep really simple, and that's why I have my plastic bag, but it's from Nature's Emporium, so I thought you would all be okay with that, because I know plastic's out. Okay, so how to choose a bike. Some of you may already have a bike, you may not have a bike. These are all the bikes and many other types of bikes that you will probably end up seeing at the RTCC. So with this picture, I draw a line down the middle. You've got the cruiser and the mountain. These are pretty heavy, a little bit on the slower side, and then you have the hybrid and the road bike. These are the two that I'd say that you'd probably see the most of. I actually tried to Google today to see if they had percentages of what types of bikes are ridden, but I couldn't find any information like that today. So maybe they'll do that for in the future, okay? So if you don't already have a bike and you're gonna buy a bike, you need to think about, what's that bike for? What do I want to do with it? So you see some underneath some of the pictures, it's got ideas of the kilometers. For the hybrid, I've had several girlfriends who have done this ride, this special event, and they've all used the hybrid because it tends to be really comfortable, okay? And then that's also how we set you up, which we're going to talk about as we move through. All right, we'll go on to the next one, okay? All right, so budgeting scenarios, and I've put the picture of the anatomy of the bicycle. So that might look like a lot, but with skis and bikes here, they'll even agree that that's just kind of the surface of what the bicycle is. And I think for women, it's really good to have a handle of some of the anatomy. You don't need to know everything. But understanding like the frame and the wheels. The frame is actually the heart of the bike, and then you have the wheels, your saddle, and your handlebar. But when you're in a bike store, and if you're making a purchase, or if you have to take your own bike in, being able to talk about parts of the bike versus, for me it was, this thingy here keeps making this noise, and that would be like the derailleur, and I thought that was some type of a French word. So, you know, and then sometimes like the mechanic would get a little annoyed with me, like, where's the noise coming from? I'd be like, I don't know, somewhere in the front. So over the years, I've really started to learn to be able to talk about the bike, and I just find that the communicating with when I need a new bike or with the mechanic, it has truly helped. So another thing here is like, when you're going in, if you're in the process of purchasing a bike, or you already have a bike and you do this ride, but you want to upgrade, and you're like, I really enjoyed that, so now I'm going to really truly invest in something. Setting a budget is quite important. The bikes can vary in price, and these are actually quite right. The price is down here. Your entry level for a road bike is around $1,500, and then you can go all the way up to $25,000 plus for your super bikes, right? That's where you're going to get something a little bit more aerodynamic. You can have it custom painted. You're digging it all out with the components that you want, and it looks pretty special, and they ride a lot faster, and they're nice and light, okay? Next one. We've got a lot of slides, so I have to kind of get through it all. Okay, so I've just kind of talked about this if you're going to be buying a bike. I wouldn't necessarily just walk into any bike store if I was going to be making a purchase, because it's a lot of money to make an investment. I'd ask my friends, work colleagues, if you're on part of a team, who do they go to, where do they recommend? It's also nice to pick the local bike store that's closer to you, because I can guarantee you when you first get a new bike, you are in there visiting it a lot. For several reasons. One of them would be the fit, and also when you do get a new bike, the cables, etc., everything kind of stretches out. So you want to be making sure that you're not hopping all the way across town, and it takes you 2 hours to get there, and then you're like, oh, well, I'll go later, and then a lot of things starts to accumulate with the bike, and you're not staying on top of the mechanics or the looking after of your bicycle. Another thing that's absolutely critical, and it's up here on the screen, is you have to get your sizing. And I think I'm looking over here, like most bike shops will do a sizing for free. Yeah, so when you go in, that's something that you have to have established. And then once you're set up on a particular size, like I'll give you an example, I'm a 51 now on all bikes across the spectrum, so I can kind of go anywhere and I know that this is what's going to fit me. I had a saying there for the fit of a bicycle. The bicycle can't be made to fit onto you, okay? I hate when I sometimes see like the bike is too big, and then it's like you're trying to swap this part and that part out of the bicycle, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So really build that relationship with the bike store, and if you're not sure about that, just bring in all your gal pals so that you can all ask a lot more questions as you go along. All right, next slide. Okay. Here we go. Some of the outfitters who can help you out. You've got Darnellis Bike Shop. I know them really well. Neil would be one of the guys there. You've got Kind Human, skis and bikes right here. If you've got any more questions, you can head on over here. Okay, so these are the people that are supporting if you're needing anything new with your rides, okay? All right, so like Natasha had her girlfriend, I don't know if she's still here, Janet had called her up in December and said, do you want to come out and let's do this right? So maybe you've got a bike and it's been sitting in the garage for a couple of years. Okay, somebody's laughing. Yeah, all right. So, you know, the cobwebs are kind of there. You know, I would start getting that bike out now, get it in, have a good tune-up because the cables do tend to dry out. The tires, if they've been sitting there and they haven't been pumped up, they can get cracked a little bit. So you want to get on top of that now. The other thing too is you know, if you rode that bike 5 or 10 years ago, your body changes, we change, and you may need to have another fit on your bike. Last year, menopause has absolutely killed me, and I had to go through 3 fittings in the last year and a half. Like, I just can't believe, like, I'm just not as flexible and I can't move the same way, right? I'm getting some nods here. So 3 fits last year, that was a lot. I probably hadn't had a fit for about 10 years. So that is absolutely critical for you, okay? I did put this in here, the front and rear lights in good working order. This is Ontario Highway Traffic Act. You must have lights on your bicycle, and if you plan to ride with a club, you do need to have bike lights or front and back, and it's 30 minutes before and after the sun, okay? So if you're riding in a group, sometimes the police will stop you on that if you don't all have your lights on. The other thing too is, if I'm riding during the day, I always have my lights on. If you've got it on the rear red and it's flashing, you can probably see that about 3 kilometers away. So it's just adding more for the vehicles to see you when you're out there, and the same with the front light. Okay. Can you borrow a bike? Of course. And I think that's how a lot of us get into riding. It could be your kid's bike, a girlfriend, a friend, it's your neighbor's. You can absolutely use that. Again, I would take that bike into the bike store and just make sure that you're fitted on it properly, because no matter what distance that you're doing on the day, it's a long ride, so you don't want to feel uncomfortable. And then on top of that, you want to do a ton of training. Okay, so you have to kind of adapt and get your body used to riding on that bike. All right, we'll go to the next. All right, let's talk about accessories. This is only a few things because I think accessories on the bike can be absolutely limitless. I will spend more money on a cycling kit, from my hat to the outfit to my socks and the shoes, than I will on regular clothing. So let's start first with the cycling outfit, okay, because there are some jerseys as well that you can try on back here. Bib shorts or cycling shorts, and I say cycling shorts, that's just coming to your waist. I always recommend that you wear the bib shorts for a couple of reasons. They tend to feel more comfortable. You don't have a waistband digging in when you're hunched over. I find the waistband can start to roll down. When you've got the bibs on, everything stays in place. Sometimes there's less seams in the pants. And the chamois, so let's talk about the chamois in these, okay? When you wear shorts that just come to your waist and you're standing around, it looks like you wear a diaper, because the cut of the shorts are made for you to lean forward. When you wear the bib shorts, the cut is slightly different and you can actually stand upright. So if you like to hang out at the coffee shop, because cycling's all about coffee shop stops, you can tend to look really good, okay? So the chamois in men's and ladies, there is actually quite a difference. So, you don't want to just be grabbing your husband's or your partner's shorts for the ride. So the women's shorts will tend to be wider, and this is because women's have wider hips, and your sit bones will be in a different position. So this is to take the pressure and any vibration that you're getting from the bike. The chamois itself inside as well is anatomically cut out differently for the perineum. on men and women. So the higher, it depends on what you like as well. You can go with a higher padding, some will have a lesser type of padding. My idea would be in the changing rooms, like try them on and see if there's any seams that kind of bother you. If the seam bugs you in the store, I'll tell you right now, it will drive you crazy when you're writing, and you'll start to get a lot of chafing and bleeding. We talked about the lights. The saddle is absolutely critical because that's your, there's a lot of weight going in there. So this is where the saddle would come into your fitting when you're in the bike shop. And you know what, whatever worked for you maybe 5 years ago, maybe things have changed. If you've had natural childbirth in the last couple of years, that can make another difference. So you may need to change your saddle as well for those purposes. A bell. I did look this up as well. I've had a ticket in the past. I don't want to scare anybody from cycling, but I have had a ticket because it didn't have a bell. A police officer stopped me for that one. I did go to court and I fought it, and I had a receipt, and I had the bell on my bike. Yeah, I know, right? The helmet is non-negotiable. You have to wear a helmet. If I do training camps, or if we have anybody come out and ride with our coaching company, you have to wear a helmet. I'm sure at the ride it's mandatory. You ride a helmet. There are a few ways to make sure that your helmet fits correctly, because I often see this at my clinics, that the women and men do not wear their helmets properly. It is supposed to be really snug. It's going to ruin your hairstyle. It's going to flatten your hair, and I like big hair. The helmet should sit 1 finger width just above your eyebrow. It shouldn't be back here in your hairline. It's right here, because if you fall or you go forward, this area is going to be protected. And then here you should only get 1 finger width underneath the strap. So if I'm in a setting and I come around and I grab the helmet, it should not be moving from side to side, because if you tumble, you don't want that helmet sliding right off. And I had a clinic just last year, and I'd probably say more than 50% of their helmets just about came off their heads. So they don't often test for that when you're in the shops, right? I'm getting a nod that they don't really do that. So do always try. Do not buy a helmet secondhand, because you don't know what's happened to it unless it's in a box and it has all its tickets on it that has never been used. And helmets should be replaced every 3 to 4 years. Sometimes it bugs me to spend that money on the helmet, but the fabric inside starts to break down after around the 2-year mark because of the sweating and all the hair products that we put in, etc. Okay? A few other things that you'd want to have. If you've seen my hands, I have some really bad sun marks. Bit shy about them right now. When I was 40, I started wearing gloves. That's when I first started getting treatment for the sun marks on my hands. So now I'm adamant, like, wear your gloves. It also helps to take out a little bit of the vibration on the handlebars. Then you have a toolkit. Everybody's going to learn to have a toolkit. I know that you'll be running some clinics, so hopefully you'll all learn how to fix a flat tire. If not, there's always a sag wagon that can come along. But when you're out doing your own training, it's good to be able to fix a flat tire. You can watch lots of videos online on YouTube. You can play games with your girlfriends or with your team at the office. See if you can get it down to like 2 minutes on fixing a flat. Then it's called the call of shame. If you can't, you got to call Uber, right? All right, I think that's pretty good on the accessories. We'll move on. Okay, what else do you need when you're writing? I'd recommend, like, you need to have a little bit of clothing for when it's pretty cool outside. So there's things like, even though you can wear your jersey, there's arm warmers. And then when it's really sunny all the time, I always wear arm coolers because I don't want to be exposed to the sun as much. So those are good things. Your cool and wet weather trading. So I've done the Ride to Conquer Cancer a couple of times, and yes, been blessed with superb weather. But I do recommend that you do learn how to ride in weather that's not so perfect. Okay, now, if it's absolutely lashing down when you come out the driveway, that's the worst going into a bike ride. But if you know it's gonna rain a little bit later, it's okay to go out. You have to learn how to ride because you wanna know, what does the road feel like? It does feel a little bit different. The big thing with the riding outside when it's wet is you don't wanna be going on the white lines because they're slippy. And that's where your back wheel, if you're taking a corner, that's where you'll tend to slide out. So just learning those little minutiae things about the different types of weather. So the cool weather, you can get your tights, jackets, leg warmers and arm warmers and a vest. You can start out, if it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and it's a little cool, you can put these things on, and then that's why we've got the pockets in the back of our jersey. Then as it starts to warm up, you can just take these things off and slide them in there. Okay, another one up there, chamois cream. And there was a message sent about, I think it was like, what do you do with it? Where does it go? All right, so the chamois cream, it is over here. I think it's the chamois butter. There's so many on the market. So chamois cream is an antibacterial cream that you can use in your crotch area, okay? In the past, you know, people used to always rub it on their chamois, but you don't need to rub it there. You just scoop it out, put it in your hand, and get in there and just mush it all around, okay? So I don't use it at all. I think because nope, I don't use it. I don't like it. I don't really like the sensation of it. But I've got my set bike shorts, and me and my saddle have become one. So I'm at peace there. For some people, they like it because they feel that it helps to eliminate saddle sores, all right? Any type of friction, okay? All right. On that, then, I'd say, you know, I don't know what people do with their shaving and all of that stuff, okay? But there was a paper that came out by British Journal, and they studied the British track team. And the females that ended keeping up some of their pubic hair had less saddle sores than those that did not have any pubic hair, because the pubic hair is there to protect, okay? So, I think it's good to talk about everything. All right. All right. Let's move on. So this is one of the big questions. What do you wear under your chamois, under your shorts? So if you can go commando, yes. I'd actually recommend that you don't wear underwear, because when you're actually sitting right on the saddle and you're right in your bikini line and you have thick underwear on, it just creates too much friction. There's too much rubbing. And if your panties or underwear tend to be cotton, then it's just going to absorb too much moisture and it's not getting wicked away from your skin. The chamois is there to absorb and take everything away. And it's really good. Yes?
Can I make just a...
Absolutely.
Comparison, a little embarrassing and everything. So I would say, and there's lots of experience that others can do, like invest as much as you can in your shorts.
Yes.
Don't wear new shorts on the weekend of the ride. Like, you wear your stuff in. I wouldn't do anything fancy before the ride. Don't go get a wax before the ride. I don't like the chamois cream, sorry. It gives me like a bad tingle. I was like, what is happening? But try well in advance and try things. And then if you have other creams or potions or lotions that you use anyway, like use those. Like it's sort of a barrier cream.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I think the tingle that you're talking about, sometimes they have, it can be a bit of a numbing cream. I think the ASOS, a lot of men will use, or it's got tea tree oil, which is a cleansing agent. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So sorry, I don't know your name.
Sherry, and thanks for all these great tips.
Okay, all right, yeah. So like Sherry is saying, you know, like try, all right? And if you have bought a pair of shorts and they're just not working, like invest a little bit more money. It really makes a difference. Like, yes, I said that, you know, you can go unlimitless with the accessories, but spend the money on the shorts. That's absolutely the key point there, okay?
The last thing I would say, I promise I should stop.
No, I love
I
it.
wear long gloves no matter what. I wear long gloves when it's 30 degrees out. I'm used to them and I like them. And you save your nails. And if you fall, like I just feel, and we all fall.
Yep.
Okay, you get back up. Like it's better for your fingers and your hands, or if you have to change a tire or do something yucky. It's helpful.
Yeah.
And I've never worn bib shorts, but you.
Okay, all right. And the thing with the gloves, like if you fall and you get road rash all in here, it is brutal trying to get all the little stones or soil or anything else out of there. So the gloves are just a to-go for. And I do wear the long gloves, and you can do anything with them. And the other thing is if you're eating on the bike, it keeps your hands, because I hate my hands being sticky. So yeah, so I just, use whatever I'm going to use. Okay, all right, next one. Okay, all right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the training tips. So the RTCC, they do have a couple of events that will be happening April the 29th or April the 30th out in Milton. And then May the 13th, again, that's not being recognized where. I'm not sure of how long, but RTC will let you know. 25, 50, and 75K. So that's a great point to test yourself out and see hey, how's my training been going along here? Okay. Cycling clubs. Toronto's absolutely fantastic. There's loads of cycling clubs that you can join here. The Morning Glory, there is the women's group. There's also, and please help me here, the Soul Sisters of High Park. That's another all-women's group that started up during the pandemic, and a great group of women there. They do clinics as well, so you've got your support there. Darnellis Bike Shop there over at Lawrence and Victoria. They also do women-only clinics. And again, the nice thing about when you're riding with women-only clinics is if there's a set pace that's established, there's a set pace. If it's going to be between 23 and 25, it's not turning into 35, okay? Yeah, because most clubs, if you're riding with guys, that's the way it can tend to be, or women clubs will have a lot of it's a no-drop policy and you all stay together, which I like, and I think that's the way riding should be. It's a social thing. Unless you have a number pinned on you, then it's a race, but that's not what we're talking about today. Okay. All right, next one. Good. Okay. Training resources. There is a Strava that you could join. I actually quite like Strava. So take your screen pictures of this, because you can start up some great communication here. If you live in a certain neighborhood, maybe you can help to organize rides with some other people that are doing this. So everybody that's linked into the Strava account here would be everybody that's doing the Ride to Conquer Cancer. You can also kind of brag about your QOMs and how far you've ridden and what you've been up to. So just talking about the training, it is from this weekend, it will be 15 weeks out. How exciting, right? Has everybody started their training? I love it, good, okay, all right. So if you haven't and you don't know where to start, I did write out a 15-week training program. I did design it for beginners. It starts out very easy. My recommendation is 3 to 4 times a week. The first 2 rides, you can move them around, but let's say I put them in a Tuesday and a Thursday. You're starting out at 30 minutes, the next ride would be 40 minutes, and then your first weekend ride is around 60 minutes. So I'm trying to start out nice and easy, and that's what you want to do. It's nice and aerobic. You're not trying to smash and get PRs and blow your brains out or go to some wacko spin class, okay, where the instructor's yelling at you. But what you're trying to establish here is getting into a routine and getting that feeling back to getting into training if it's not something that's in your repertoire right now, okay? Then each week I've built up the training anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So it's a nice progression building all the way through. By the time you get up to the 12th week, if you're doing your back-to-back rides, and this, you can pick and choose what you end up doing because there's so many rides to choose from to make it accessible to your lifestyle, which that's the most important thing because you want this to be fun. You can add on the extra ride on the weekend. If you are doing the 200, then my suggestion to you is that you do learn to ride back-to-back because you are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. You're going to feel a little bit fatigued, especially on the Sunday morning. And if you're camping out and you're used to a nice fancy bed, I don't know what you actually sleep in, or if you're sleeping on the ground. You're sleeping on the ground? Oh, and a sleeping bag. Yeah, you're going to feel it. So you want to make sure that you've done those double back-to-back rides, okay? And in that plan, I think you'll have access through Ride to Conquer Cancer. I do talk about like what you can do on other days, each week, what the focus is. And then on the weekends, I've got some ideas of nutrition, and then there's a whole glossary. And then you'll have access to me if you ever have any questions, because I did take my time at writing it, but then sometimes when I go in and look, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what did I write? How could anybody read that? So I may go in and tweak things as we move through the weeks, okay? All right, next one. Okay. Yes, again, this is going to get re-emphasized several times. It's not a race, it's a ride. Because it's such a big ride, 4,000 to 5,000 riders, the front of the pack, they're going to be going fast. When you come out of the gates at the start line, it is like the Tour de France. Let those guys go, okay? I can see Janet smiling on that one, right? Yes. Yeah. But I do think because you're riding in such a big environment with other people, it's important to learn how to ride in groups. There is a lot of etiquette that is quite important, and if other people are coming upon you, they're not yelling at you, but we do tend to be quite vocal, but it's just to let you know that they're passing on the left, or if they're waving around or yelling, often it's because it's an object, a squirrel, an animal, or there's just furniture in the road. And remember one thing when you're riding, you always want to stay to the right. There's no need to be over in the center line, okay? That's where you will get yelled at a lot. You always stay to the right, okay? But I think when you come out, if you're not used to riding with a group, if you can make it out to riding in the clinics, that will be absolutely excellent for you, okay? Try to stay active, 2 to 3 times a week. Just, you want to get your sit bones, you want to get your inside leg muscles used to sitting on a bicycle for a long duration of time. And on top of it, you got to have fun. Okay. Dang, I shouldn't have used that word. Yeah, I know. I think, are you going to feel, yes, you are going to feel things on the bicycle, but it's understanding, is this okay, or am I just adapting to this, all right? For example, if your hands start to feel numb, that's not a good sign. That's a sign that your handlebars are probably too wide, or you could be gripping too hard. Your hand should be nice and relaxed. If you're constantly noticing that you have low back pain, that could be because of your fit, you're overreaching, there's just so many reasons. But I think acknowledging, like when I get off the bike, how do I feel, or how do I feel the next morning when I wake up, okay? And I think just the whole process, because if you're just going to start into this, if you stick to a proper program and you don't get in there and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to start to blow my brains out, and I'm going to get all the training because I'm so behind and I'm in such a panic, and then you try to ride every single day, you will start to get some issues going on, all right? Okay, next up, thank you. Bikes and menstrual cycles, I don't even think that it doesn't make a difference. The only thing is, like, sometimes when you have your period, you feel a little tired or crampy. I often found that, I'm so sad that I don't have a period. So good, so savor it if you do, okay? Because I realize this is like the first time that I'm talking about this and I don't have a period anymore. But I do remember that even if crummy as I felt, or if I had a really crampy stomach, once I got on the bike, or if I was running or swimming or doing any type of exercise, it kind of went away and I'd always feel a little bit better, okay? So the only thing is the string, like try to tuck it away, because that's awful if it gets caught, and it just kind of gets a little bit uncomfortable in there, or whatever you end up using in here, okay? And if you ever have any where it just starts to have one of those heavy days, that's why we wear the chamois shorts, and most shorts come black, so it's all good, okay? All right, let's move on from that. Okay, all right. I'm gonna keep the nutrition simple, because every time I listen to a podcast, I always think, oh, this is it. I'm going to get the magic answers on how to eat. And then it's just like so sciencey, and it's gone completely over my head. Okay. So here we go. So this is quite fancy stuff up here. So I find that the biggest question I get asked when it comes to nutrition is, so I'm just going to go through my notes here to make sure I kind of stay on track. What do I eat? And when do I eat, okay? So I actually want to read this verbatim here. So there's two things I'm going to talk about here quickly. Performance nutrition is the focus of easily digested carbs with low fiber, low protein, and low fat in order to allow the food to pass through the stomach more quickly and be easily broken down for quick absorption into the bloodstream for energy. Okay, so on those weekends, when you're doing your longer rides, you do need to eat. And I know that when I first start working with athletes, they're like, what do you mean I have to eat? Like, that sounds weird. And if you're not used to consuming calories when you're exercising, this can be a whole new world that opens up to you. Your daily nutrition, okay, this is when you want to have a slow release of energy throughout the day being released into your body through your gut, and that's through your fats, your fibers, your protein, and your carbohydrates in each meal. So your daily nutrition tends to be different from what you're going to be eating when you're actually exercising, okay? So I have a couple of ideas how you can eat when you're writing. I know that you probably have all your gels and all that. Okay, all right. So when we're writing, we always want to have carbohydrates, because carbohydrates it was kind of got an evil name there for a while in endurance sports, and everybody wanted to go to keto, and now it's like, oh no, now we're going back to carbohydrates. Okay, all right. So in 1 hour, you can tend to eat between 45 grams of carbs, and 1 gram of carb is 4 calories. Sorry, I lost my track there. So you want to eat between 45 grams up to 75 for women. Now, if you're going really hard and you're doing the super long distance, like the 260, and you're going to be on the bike for 4 to 5 hours, you can actually train your gut to consume more carbohydrates. And this has been through the sciences, but that is something that you have to train for, because if you're not used to it, you'll end up with a sore stomach or just issues, okay? So if you were out riding, here we have the fabulous banana, okay? So this is about 105 to 110 calories, and a banana has about 30 grams of carbohydrates. So that's your I put 30 grams, so that's 120 calories. Bananas are great on the bike because they do kind of fill you up, but the only thing is, they're big, they're bulky, and if you're trying to get them in here, the tops can fall off, and then by the time you get to, there's been a fly on it, or it's gotten all brown, and they go a little bit mushy. Okay, so that's an option. That's good if you're going out for a shorter ride. One of my favorites is Jube Jubes. Okay, I don't use the fancy Cliff Shots at $3 a pack. Sorry, guys. 8 Jube Jubes is 130 calories. Okay, that you've got right there. 33 grams of carbs. That's fantastic. I can tell you right now, I probably eat 3 to 4 servings of this in an hour, okay, because they're just so tasty and yummy. So that's another thing that you could be eating. Oh, and here's another one of my staples is baby potatoes. Okay, these are cheap. They're a great slow-releasing carbohydrate to eat when you're on the bike. 5 of these. This is going to give you that little bit of more substantial feeling when you're on the bike. This is 50 grams of carbs and 260 calories. So perfect. So this is why when we talked about you want to wear your long gloves just so that your hands don't get all icky, okay? And then another would be the Medjool dates. These are absolutely delicious. 2 of these dates are 132 calories. Now, sometimes on a longer ride, I find I get just a little bit more hungry. Like if you're doing up to the if you're training up to the 75 and the 90K and you're going into that 3-hour range, sometimes I'll put a little bit of almond butter in between, and then that gives you a little bit of protein, and you just feel like you're getting a little bit more of a filling. So then when you get to the coffee stop, you're not going to just ravenously eat everything and make all types of choices. Okay. Now here's something that we do all tend to use. These are your gels. Okay. But this has only 90 calories, so it's not a lot. And I find that you'll go through quite a lot of these. But if you're wanting something quick and on the go, then these are perfect. Okay. And then this was my nutritionist got me onto this, a Nutella sandwich. If you like, it's the only time I'll eat Nutella is when I'm riding a bike. White bread, it's gluten-free. It's just fancy bread. I didn't cut the crust off. A Nutella sandwich will give you roughly 470 calories. So I wouldn't eat the whole thing in one go. I'd probably half it and then stop at a halfway point. So like they talked about on the ride, you can stop every 25 kilometers. I'm not sure what they'll be serving at the event, but in your training, when you're doing your rides, if you learn how to, sometimes you can just pull it out the back, or maybe you have to stop, so you can stop and eat your foods. Your carbohydrate intake is not related to your actual weight. It's an individual for everybody. So what works for me is not going to work for the next rider. So that's something that you need to work on. And I wanted to give you visuals because often when I'm at a talk or nutrition, they go on about the grams of carb, and you're like, what's a carbohydrate? Like, what does it actually look like? So I think when you see what your snacks can be, that can make a big difference. And if not, please, throw me out some questions on that. I've made lots of mistakes. The reason why you have to eat on the bike is because in the morning you wake up and you have around 1,400 calories stored glycogen in your muscles. But your muscles aren't really sharing it with everybody, okay? That's just for the muscles. You then have another 500 stored in your liver, and then you have glucose that's going around through the body that's actually helping me to stand here, work, breathe, blink my eyes, and talk, all right? So this is just a little diagram. It's quite fancy. So these are the doors and the passages of how the carbohydrate is entering into the body and the doors opening up. And as you exercise, and if you exercise at a higher intensity, those doors at the bottom, the gray thingies, they're going to be opening up a lot faster to hand out all those carbohydrates that needed. So that's why you need to be eating while you're on the bike. Or you have the bonk. And if you've never had a bonk, that's when you have a hypoglycemia. I've said it wrong, hypoglycemic moment where you're completely depleted of your carbohydrates. It's not a nice feeling. You become very lethargic. You get extremely tired. If you're actually out on the bike, you get quite sweaty. You can get quite shaky. It's just hard to get to the gas station. And then when you get to the gas station, you're eating chocolate bars before you've even paid for them. Okay, and if you've had a bad bonking session like that, it can take a couple of days to try to recover from it. I don't know, for me it seems to happen once every year. I still do it, even though I know I should be eating, and then sometimes you forget, you're writing, you're chatting with your friends, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't feel good. Or you're riding along, you feel really good, and then you're at the back of the pack, and that's when you realize, I haven't eaten anything for the last 2 hours. So that's why you do want to keep on top of that, okay? And then the next subject was a little bit about protein. So when you're in the midst of your training, we don't often have you consume protein because it's very heavy. And a protein substance, like let's say a chicken sandwich, that's going to take 2 to 3 hours to process through your gut. So that's not the type of things that you'd want to be eating when you're training. Afterwards, absolutely. Because when you're exercising, you want all that blood just be going to your muscles. You don't want it to be shunting to the stomach to help to process and break down all the foods, okay? Another thing with the protein, and I had just learned this through I think it was British Cycling. I was on a webinar with them. Let's say you've been out exercising for about 3-4 hours and you come in and you're like, oh man, I'm starving. Make your protein shake, because a protein shake is more easily absorbed into the muscles than having a chicken sandwich or real food. I'm all about real food. I think it's more important to do the food than all the powders and all the gels and everything else that you can get. But that's one thing that for my training, I've really tried to stick to getting in that protein shake. And that's normally for women that can range anywhere from 25 grams of protein up to around 45 grams. It depends on which nutritionist that you would listen to on that. Okay, so I kind of skimmed through a lot of stuff really fast because we had a lot of things, and I hope that was good. I don't know if we were doing any Q&As on that, but if you do, I'll be hanging around and you can ask me anything, okay? All right, thanks for listening.
Well, that was a lot of information, very helpful. I learned a lot. Now that you know what to eat, what route you're going to take, what to expect, what to do down there, all the intimate details, how are we going to make an impact together? How are you going to get to the $2,500 minimum that is most popular, or even crush that? Fun fact is that the actual average fundraise by the average person on the ride is actually $3,500, even though the minimum is $2,500, which actually has not been increased in many, many years. So if you adjust for inflation, that's pennies. But anyways, we have a lot of resources for you. We also have a lot of best practices and tips. We've been doing this for 15 years. We have a lot of ways for you specifically to make sure that you fundraise successfully. And we have all of those on our website, and we'd be happy to answer those. But today I'm only going to talk about what the ride actually can do to help you. So once you register for the ride, you will have access to your participant center. That is a center where you can connect with your donors, connect with your team members, and have a platform that you can share your story and your images on. And if I may take just 30 seconds to tell you a really quick story about how that is so successful. I had the pleasure of meeting 16-year-old Olivia McNamara 3 weeks ago. And Olivia was diagnosed with cancer when she was at the tender age of 2.5 years old. Her little body was riddled with tumors from head to toe. She counted them. I can't even keep count. And she went through 18 months of really, really intense and rigorous chemotherapy. Her dad started riding in her honor, and he has been doing the ride for 9 years. He is an extremely competent fundraiser. He's very well versed in it. And 16 is the minimum age to ride, and so Olivia will be doing her first ride this year. And she has gone in and updated her participant center because she's so excited, put a picture, put her story and everything. And already she has far beaten her 9-year veteran fundraiser dad by simply updating that and sharing her page with her network when her dad simply hadn't done that. And so really it's the smallest things and resources that end up going such a long way. Some other things we have are social media toolkit to get fun pictures out there to your network. We offer Facebook fundraising. We also accept offline donations in this online digital world. We're happy to help you in any way. And our lovely ride guides, Sid being one of them, are always here to help you with anything that you need. We also have other things that you are able to use. On the next slide, I have some images about, some text about matching programs. We actually just wrapped one up in February for a $100,000 match, and we will have another one, hint, hint, register today. And we also offer a refer and raise program where if you refer a rider and you both fundraise, then you can both get a credit towards that. If your workplace offers matching, we are also able to accept workplace giving, and we offer a lot of incentives throughout. I mean, you saw some helmets, you saw some jerseys. There is so much more that I could sit here and talk to you about, but I will highlight just one today, which is the Ambassador Program. The Ambassador Program is for people who recruit or fundraise well above average. We have 4 different levels, and if you are interested in learning more about this program, please let me know. We would love to have you be an ambassador of the ride. For now, I promised you lots of crying and lots of laughing at the ride, so let's experience a little snippet of that for the next 5 minutes together through the Why We Ride video.
Your mind is racing. You can spiral out of control.
You experience every negative feeling.
It felt like somebody punched me in the stomach, knocked me out. My name's Bernadette Misk, and I'm from Niagara Falls, Ontario.
I'm Bernadette's husband, Joe, and from Niagara Falls as well.
Julianne had a very, very high tolerance for pain. She came into my room complaining about a toothache. Long story short, did a biopsy, came back with the diagnosis of osteosarcoma, bone cancer. That little girl riding without a fibula in her leg after going through surgery and grueling chemotherapy.
She was so determined. As hard as it has been, we realized that she was a gift. And sorry, we're grateful for that. We're going to be riding in Julianne's honor.
My name is Robin Goldman, and I am from Ajax, Ontario. I don't think anyone's ever ready to be told that they have cancer. Felt like my life was ripped out from under me. After that moment, I haven't once thought that I'm gonna die. Not once. But when you don't know, you have no idea. All you know is cancer's scary. You just figure out how to keep going.
Venki Srinivasan, Mississauga, Ontario. Cancer still got a scary tone to it. Whoever you are, however strong you may be, when somebody says you have cancer, you have no idea whether you're going to come out alive on the other side or not, whether you're going to be there for your next son's birthday or not. December 6, 2015. It was a surreal moment for me and my wife. We were sitting and talking to the oncologist. We were waiting to hear those words, and he didn't quite say it until we had to say, does that mean I'm in remission? And then he said, yeah, you are officially in remission as of today. Doing this right for cancer, it's very near and dear to my heart because I know that the money is going towards research, and Princess Margaret has been leading the charge. I wouldn't be alive today talking to you if there was no research.
I may be the one in treatment, but we're all impacted. We as a whole, collectively, and that's why we ride. The energy at the ride to conquer cancer, especially at the beginning, it's an experience you didn't know you needed.
I would say it's a roller coaster of emotions during the start.
You look and you have like 4,500 people behind you, all for that purpose.
You have so much adrenaline.
That gun goes off, you're like, yeah, let's do this.
When you have the opportunity to ride with those thousands of riders and those hundreds of cancer flags, all the supporters, volunteers, it touches you in a way that you can't imagine.
It's like the entire city or cities come together for this ride. The cancer journey, it's tough. There are days when you have nothing left in the tank. You just have to tell yourself, just keep going.
Just show up for yourself and the rider beside you. And you may not know that person. And going through treatment, you may not know that person beside you in the waiting room who's getting an infusion. There's somebody behind you, beside you, to pick you up when you need that.
All of a sudden, there's this sea of people just lined up.
Cheering you on, and they see you coming, and you're like, yes!
Crossing the finish line, it's everything.
You're never ready for that emotion.
The sense of pride that comes with it, shared with thousands of other people.
I wrote this letter to me who had just heard that I have cancer.
You may not see it now, but you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Julianne, your dad and I love and miss you beyond words.
Everyone you know will rally for you to win this battle. You'll need all the help that you can get.
You showed up for yourself. I'm so proud of you, Rob.
Your dad and I will continue to do the Ride to Conquer Cancer in your name and raise much needed funds for research and pray that a cure is found for this horrible disease.
Enjoy the ride.
I see lots of tears, which is exactly what I promised you. You can tell that this room was set up by a man because there are no tissues here, and we apologize for that. Unfortunately, we are living to the stereotype of chatty women, and we chatted quite a bit today, so we won't have the length of time that we had hoped for the Q&A. However, we are able to take a couple before we wrap it up and about any of the topics. And if we don't get to your question, we will stick around here. Our contact information will be available at the end, and we would be happy to connect with you. But for now, does anyone have a burning question that they would like to pose? Yes. Would you like the microphone? Or?
How do we get the 15-week training plan
that you talked about. Where are you? Okay, great.
Yes, because we're recording this, so I'll get my cardio for the day.
So Polina has sent it over to me. I'm the marketing manager for the ride. We will be posting it on Strava, so if you link up on Strava, and then it will also be available on our socials. That might be a week until it's available on our socials. It will be available immediately on Strava.
And if you don't know what Strava is, it is a cycling app that you can track your kilometers, and you can actually link that to your participant center that I talked about, and it's free. Any other questions? Oh, I see the chatting worked. We answered them all. Oh, yes.
What kind of terrain are we biking on? Will there be like roads blocked off, or are we going to be riding on some like hills and things like that?
Really good question. Yes is the answer. All of the above. So the roads are not blocked off, which is why we talked about group cycling, which is why we really invite you to come out to our training ride to experience riding in a group. However, by sheer force of numbers, when we first exit onto the roads, we do tend to take over. Some roads are private, there are some trails, there are some hills, both up and down, so we got you covered. But we do ride in all terrain and recommend that you do train for all of those.
Sorry, what did you just say? We roads aren't blocked? No, you said we ride in all terrains?
So we ride on some trails, not terrains, trails. But no, like gravel, not. Yeah, 100% a road bike can do it. Yeah, we got some really expensive road bikes out there, so we definitely keep that in mind.
How does it work with, if I'm riding to the Niagara Falls, like how do we get back to Toronto? Then you have a ride or what?
Really good question. I can't believe I forgot the most important part. We are going to shuttle you everywhere that you need to be. Everywhere that you are supposed to be, we will take you there, except for when you're supposed to be riding your bike. You'll take yourself there. And so when you get to Niagara Falls, you will be able to have your bike be transported by a experienced transporter back to Toronto, and you will be able to ride a luxury coach back to Toronto where we left off at the exhibition place. And same if you're doing the one-day ride, you'll be able to have that experience from Hamilton. Yes, you can also drop your bike off the night before if you wanted to just commute in on the Friday, and we will have that for you.
Not a question, more a comment, because I thought there was a concern about just the train and the road closures in the first 25 kilometers. At least, so last year was my first in person, which, as I said, if I'm physically able, I will be forever doing it. But it's all like the police presence is significant. So you especially for the first 25 kilometers, and then there's a break. So there's a heavy presence there for safety, if anyone was concerned.
Yep, we do close some intersections that are dangerous, and then others we have police presence that are able to help direct you through. I will be here to answer any more of your questions, but for now, I will pass it off to Dr. Miyo Yamashita, who will be able to help us wrap up for the night and give us a very special offer.
We need wine. I feel like we need wine. Hello, ladies. It is really amazing to see you all. I'm Miyo Yamashita. I lead the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. I'm riding for the first time this year. I've been in this role for 18 months. I just want to wrap up quickly by saying thank you for being here for cancer. And I don't know if anyone talked about cancer and women. Cancer affects people of all genders, as we know, but if you are a woman with cancer, you are 7 times more likely to stop working or work part-time. You are 29 times more likely to be the caregiver if one of your loved ones has cancer, if you are a woman. And when we kind of look at what are we going to do about this, it's a group of women, and I hope people of other genders, but women who need to make a dent in cancer, the leading cause of death in the country and the second leading cause of death worldwide, if we're truly going to build a healthier future for this country, for each other, for our families, for our colleagues. And when we think about cancer internationally, the most common cancers for women are breast cancer and cervical cancer. 8 out of 10 cervical cancer diagnoses, 9 out of 10 cervical cancer deaths happen in low and middle income countries. The leading cause of cancer death in women in Kenya is cervical cancer. And in our view, no woman should die of cervical cancer now when we have HPV vaccines and good cervical cancer screening program. This is why at the Princess Margaret we've got about 24 different international partnerships, including bringing screening to low and middle income countries. So when you talk to your networks, and I do want to thank you for lending your time, your energy, your passion, and your networks for fundraising for cancer for the Princess Margaret. It doesn't just help women and cancer patients who are treated here in Toronto at the Princess Margaret. It helps cancer patients across the entire country because as a top 5 cancer research center, our research impacts standards of care everywhere, but it actually does truly help cancer patients around the world, including women. And looking out to the future, 60 to 70% of med school classes are already women. That's amazing. We're going to see women run oncology clinics in the next 5 to 10 years. That is fantastic for all human beings. But we also know that women dominate the healthcare workforce, period, in nursing, in pharmacy, in housekeeping. This is a woman-dominated industry, and we need to lift it up. So I really, really want to thank you all again for being here. I look forward to seeing you on the training runs. I look forward to seeing you at the ride. There's drinks at the back. I promise at the next event I host, there will be some alcohol for anyone who wants to enjoy. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for your support for the Princess Margaret.